just jump in.
Just point at me when you want me to sing.
I always want you to sing. So she'll do this part and then we'll jump in. Mom, tis good. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna let these people sit down.
Yeah.
There we go.
Taking it off you.
Shabbat shalom. Glad to have you guys here. Shabbat shalom, everyone. So, we are entering next week the month of Nisan, the month of Passover. And the big question with Passover is, why is this night different from all others? So you might be wondering tonight, why are we in the sanctuary? Why aren't we in the sanctuary, rather? Why is this different? So just to answer that question, apparently we blew a transformer in the sanctuary. Don't have electricity, we kind of need electricity. So thankfully we have this other beautiful space to have services in. So I want to welcome everybody who's here with us in the social hall and those who are joining us via live stream. So glad that you're with us. And you might have noticed that Rabbi Linder and our cantorial soloist Todd Herzog are not here today. Rabbi Linder is on vacation, and Todd Herzog this weekend is getting married. Yeah, so we'll be celebrating that in the coming weeks, but it's very, very exciting. So we're thrilled to have with us tonight Gail Dubenbaum leading us in our sung liturgy, and also John Massaro on the piano. So thrilled to have them with us for our service. So I want to invite everybody to join us in this nigun. As Gail sings it, we can all join in.
Please join.
Kiva Moed,
wonderful way of bringing in Shabbat. I want to invite everyone just to take a few breaths, just breathe out some of the stress of the week. We breathe in the joy and the sweetness of Shabbat. In this week's Torah portion, Vayakel, Moses gathers the community together and says, you should observe the sacred time of the Sabbath. And here we are, 3,000 plus years later, still gathering for Shabbat. Isn't that beautiful? And we still need that sacred time. So let's allow ourselves to really feel it. As we begin, I want to invite up Janet Kirkpatrick for a few announcements.
Hi there, Shabbat Shalom. I'm Jenna Kirkpatrick, member of Temple Solel's Board of Trustees. We are so glad to have everyone here tonight. Welcome. Torah study is held Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and also serves as a minyan for anyone saying Kaddish. Torah study is back in person every Saturday, as well as on Zoom. There's a tzedakah box as you enter the sanctuary. We are raising money for International Rescue Committee. E-News email has lots of opportunities. Please get involved. As a reminder, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something, say something. And to make sure that we can enjoy Shabbat in peace, please turn off your cell phone. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. So we continue bringing in Shabbat with the candle blessing and the kiddush. In your prayer book, the candle blessing is on page 2. And I'd like to invite up Laura Miller to light the candles for us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And we'll turn to page 5 for the kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsha b'ahava uvratzon hirkiranu. Zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom tzechila le'mikra el kodesh. Zecher l'tzirat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kitashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hirchatanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim, I hope that was sweet for a sweet Shabbat. Friends, we are going to continue on page 10, where you will find a wonderful piyut, liturgical poem written in the 15th century. Heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant. God, we are your servant. Draw us into your arms. I leap like a deer to stand in awe before you. Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid Nefesh Avarakaman. Yedid Nefesh Avarakaman. Mishoch Avdecha. Eretz Oidecha. Mishoch Avdecha. Yeladai, Eretz Oidecha. Eretz Avdecha.
Page 6. Page 6, we're going backwards. Nice mindfulness piece in the middle of the page. Please join me. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And with that in mind, we turn to page 20, Lecha Dodi, thinking about the kind of Shabbat we want to have, the kind of community we want to create. We sing Lecha Dodi, may we bring a sense of Shabbat into this place. And for the last verse, verse 9, we'll turn and face the door. And as I look around, you have a lot of door options. But the idea is to mindfully welcome in a sense of Shabbat into our presence. And then I'll ask that you stay standing. Join us in Lecha Dodi.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'di b'di Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'di b'di Shabbat nekabela la la. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'di b'di Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'di b'di Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'aru Elam Yechad, Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad, L'Shebur Tiferet, V'Riri L'Alera, Lecha Lecha Dodi, Likrat Likrat Kala, B'di B'di Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha Lecha Dodi, Likrat Likrat Kala, B'di B'di Shabbat Nekabela. לקראת שבת לחול ונלכה, כי בקור הברכה בראש מקרב ניסוחה, סוף מעשה במחשבה, כי לה 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 לה, לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פדי פדי שבת נקבלה. לך לך דודי, לקראת לקראת קלה, פדי פדי שבת נקבלה. Hitoriri, kivi orech, kumi ori, uri, shir da beri. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela. Boi v'shalom atzeret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, tol kibula am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela la la. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela. Lecha dodi, tikrat kala, bidi Shabbat dekabela.
Now that we've greeted Shabbat, let's take a moment to greet each other. So please turn around to someone who didn't come with you tonight and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Maybe learn someone's name. Please remain standing and turn to page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman kari, bimaru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach, le'alam ulal me'almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, Vidpa'ar, Vitromam, Vidnase, Vitadar, Vitalel, Vitalal, Shemei Kedusha B'rihu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata nehemata, Damiran be'alma, Vimeru. Amen. Page 28 for the Baruch Hu. Oh, I'm sorry. That is the Baruch Hu, but we're going to turn to 146. Sorry. Same prayer, different service. Page 146, and we'll continue. Please join me on 147. Adonai, Your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 148.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Abika avta, Amcha avta. Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu libarita, Otanu libarita. Al-Kein Adonai, Eloheinu b'shokbenu, uvkumenu la'asiach bikukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha le'olam la'ed, ki hem kainu, v'odech yaminu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. V'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ochiv Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Hem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. I'd like to invite up Kaya Baygood, who has her bat mitzvah ceremony next week, to come on up and help lead the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Thank you. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. So you may know there's sometimes a little bit different tunes to things. Kaya learned that a little differently than we do it in our congregation, but she has a beautiful voice and did a lovely job with that. So we are going to continue on page 151 responsively as we think about the need to bring in a world with more freedom, more goodness. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event. So we celebrate this power that makes for freedom with the singing of Mi Chamocha on page 152.
Mi chamocha dairim Adonai, mi chamocha didar b'kodesh, naratiret ol sefere, malchut cherov alecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, malchut cherov alecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, zeli anu v'amiru Adonai yimloch leolam leolam va'ed yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai dai yadadai.
The next prayer is the Hashkivenu. We ask God to help us feel surrounded by God's Spirit, God's protection as we go to bed each night, and pray that we wake up with a sense of renewal and peace in the morning.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'ha'ibidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'ha'ibidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'ha'ibidenu Malkeinu lechaim.
we turn our thoughts to friends and family who are in need of refuat hanefesh and refuat haguf, healing of the spirit and healing of the body, we keep in our prayers Carol Brillman, Kit Kasich, Eileen Schwartz, Emmanuel Kalu, Helen Epstein, Leon Wall, Diane Harris, David Lieberman, Dara Marks Marino, Mindy Brandt, Leonard Harris, David Demain, Marlene Tucker, Andre Sayapin, Sandra Slayton, Dr. Charles Saperstein, Barbara Jackson, Judy Cohen, Bella Kazan, Joni Thompson, Noel Krugman, Christian Krugman, Jay Berman, Lois Berman, Dave Nichols, Myra Greenberg, Leah Dombrow, Charlie Cornwell, Maureen Brunkart, and John Rada. And I'll go around if anyone wants to mention anyone else. We pray for their well-being as we turn to the inside back cover of our prayer books for the Misha Berach prayer for healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Bikor Habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishibirach imotenu bikor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And we turn to the beautiful Vishamru, the sweet words from Exodus about the importance of being together as a community and keeping Shabbat. 154.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat, Dorotam Brit olam, Brit olam. B'nei B'nei Yisrael, od hi le'olam. B'nei Yisrael, od hi le'olam. K'sheshet yamin asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat.
And our prayers continue with the Amidah, beginning on page 155. Please rise in body or in spirit. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'yimotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות אמהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחייל הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. פי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We turn to page 162. The top of the page, you see the prayer for the new month. This coming Wednesday will be the new month, and it will be the month of Nisan, starting Wednesday evening. So a special, special month, right? As we welcome in the month for Passover, and we think about this holiday that's halfway through Nisan, and the idea that we need 2 weeks, really, to prepare for it, to prepare our homes, to prepare for Seder, but also to prepare ourselves spiritually. So we can start now thinking about it. You know, may this be a month in which we feel more freedom. The rabbis talk about chametz, that there's spiritual chametz. There's the way that we're puffed up in life, and we need to kind of get back to our real selves. So may we try to do that on Passover. Also, I just heard a beautiful teaching that Moses was somebody, right, who stopped for the burning bush. And what was that symbolic of? That he was looking for spirituality, he was looking for truth, he was looking for goodness, and that perhaps that is why God picked him. And so may we be like Moses. May we this Passover think about how to really be adding into our lives a sense of holiness and goodness and spirituality. So at the top of page 162, here is the blessing. Our God and God of our fathers and our mothers, be truly mindful of us and all your people Israel on this approaching holiday and new month of Nisan. Renew in us love and compassion, goodness, life, and peace. This month, remember us for well-being. This month, bless us with your nearness. This month, help us to a fuller life.
Wonderful. And with that in mind, we pray for peace for us, for Israel, and for all people on page 164, Shalom Rav, and then we'll take a few moments for silent prayer.
Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Toisim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon l'chol ha'shalom. V'tol b'neinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עירוב שורשה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום, ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה, ברכה ושלום נזכר ונכתב לפניך, אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ושלום. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
Many of you know that in February I took a trip to Israel, and I had mentioned that I would speak about it tonight. So Rabbi Linder and I are part of what is known as the Central Conference of American Rabbis. This is the rabbinic organization, the Reform Rabbis of North America, and actually also of some other countries. There are many Reform rabbis that are part of the CCAR. So the Central Conference of American Rabbis has an annual conference. Usually that's in the United States, but every 7 years they hold their annual conference in Israel. And when they do that, instead of discussing regular rabbinic practical matters, they focus on the country of Israel. What's new? What are issues? What might we want to bring back to our congregation? All those kind of things. So this was the trip that I went on, was for this conference, and my husband Steve went with me. Though I am a rabbi of almost now 29 years, I had never been to a CCR conference in Israel, and so it was really a thrill for me, and also because Israel's 75th anniversary is upon us, so it's a very special time to be there. This was not a regular sightseeing tour. We really were focused on what could we learn, listening, doing, all those kinds of things. It was also a chance to support progressive Judaism in Israel and, frankly, also to let the Israeli government know that there are progressive Jews around the world and they need to, hear what we have to say as well. Having said that, any of you who saw my Facebook pictures from Israel know that I did also get to take in the joy of being in that special holy land, as anyone who goes to Israel should do. From walking on the streets of Old Yaffo, where the prophet Jonah went to flee from God's call to go to Nineveh, to attending special Reform prayer services at holy sites, to getting fries and a pita sandwich in the Ben Yehuda outdoor market in Jerusalem, to buying myself a new talit, and getting my grandson Eli a little stuffed camel that says Jerusalem on it. Steve and I got to do some meaningful and some touristy things. It was beautiful and special, as it always is, to be in our holy land. But I want to share with you tonight some of what I feel were the most important insights from the trip. So I'd like to start with something not controversial, but I think very interesting. We got to tour a new museum in Tel Aviv called Anu. Anybody been there yet? Anu? Okay. So this used to be Beit HaTfutzot, the Israel Diaspora Museum. It has been completely redone from top to bottom. We heard from the director of the museum, as well as a few experts, on the thinking behind this. And they pointed out that when Israel was created and they created this diaspora museum, the museum was created in 1978. So Israel was only 40 years old. And the premise of the museum was that Israel is at the center of the Jewish universe, and the other Jewish communities are, in essence, satellites or planets that revolve around the star. And this museum was a recognition of those satellites, present and past. Of course, this is only one way to think of the Jewish story. These experts pointed out that every other, or at least almost every other, Jewish museum around the world is focused on one of two things. It's either focused on the Jews of that particular location, right? Think of the museum here in Phoenix. Or it's concerned about the Holocaust or some other disaster. Only this museum, this new museum, Anu, tries to focus on the whole of the Jewish story. Anu means we. So what is our story? That is what they chose to focus on. The museum is 72,000 square feet, and it would take days to go through thoroughly. but I think it should be on the radar of anyone taking a trip to Israel. The museum shows all denominations, many themes, the history, and the plurality that has always been part of being Jewish. One sees that there is not just one Jewish story. So what did they focus on in creating the museum? Interestingly, as they thought about Judaism, they ended up coming up with 6 themes. I thought this was fascinating. I mean, really, think about that. How would you create a museum to try to cover like all of Judaism, right? I mean, it's really chutzpahdik, isn't it? I mean, it's like crazy. So here are the 6 pillars that they focus on. 1, history and historical memory. 2, shared values. 3, Israel viewed in different ways. 4 is Jewish language, the art, the culture, and Jewish religion is a 5th. How did I only end up with 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jewish languages is the 6th. So those 6 kind of principles or pillars kind of became the focus of this museum. I thought it was fascinating and perceptive to think about these 6 pillars to Judaism throughout the ages. So I really would encourage you to go see this museum. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is we did kind of focus a lot of attention on progressive Judaism in Israel. So there are 2 important organizations, probably more than 2, but 2 I want to bring your attention to that really focus on progressive Judaism in Israel. One is the IMPJ. This is the Israel Movement for Reform and Progressive Judaism. And the other is called Iraq Israel Religious Action Center. Both of these are very important organizations, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. First, a little bit of background. When I was in rabbinical school doing my year in Israel, 34 years ago, Israelis looked at you almost as if you were from Mars. If you said you were becoming, number 1, a female rabbi, what in the heck is that? Or that you were part of Reform Judaism. Either they had never heard of such a thing, or they did not think it was needed in Israel. Today, it is not so foreign. And if you say you are a Reform Jew, many more Israelis will say, oh, my nephew had his bar mitzvah in an Israeli progressive congregation. Or, I've attended Shabbat services at a progressive congregation. Also now, each year, 8 to 10 Israelis are choosing to become Reform rabbis going through the Israeli Reform program that our movement has. So I want to tell you a little bit about these 2 organizations. The Israel Religious Action Center is a very important organization, and I really would encourage people to give it some tzedakah. It works on religious freedom, religious pluralism, and concerns for racism. They fight for progressive values and human rights in Israel, and they are very good at what they do. Their website boasts that they have had 57 court victories and only 6 losses. Not a bad record, I'd say. So what are some of the cases they have been part of or brought on their own to the courts? Helping Reform congregations to get land to build synagogues on, the same as Orthodox congregations are able to do in Israel. Get this one. The rights of women not to sit on the back of the bus, as Orthodox Jews were pushing for. The rights of Reform rabbis to be paid a salary by the government, to be regional rabbis, just as many, many Orthodox rabbis are. And another one is the right of women to be able to have a Torah and pray from it at the Western Wall. Many of these cases are now won, but others continue to be a challenge. And this last one is certainly not resolved. And I want to share a bit of my experience about that with you. Every Rosh Chodesh, which is the first of the Hebrew month, for the past 30 years, a group called the Women of the Wall go to the Kotel, the Western Wall, and pray there as a group. I see some of you nodding. You know about this. This is a Women of the Wall talit, by the way. Now, you should know that while Jewish men can pray a service out loud together at the kotel, the ultra-Orthodox rabbi who is the head of the kotel has said that women must pray quietly and alone. And while there are 100 Torah scrolls on the men's side, none are allowed on the women's side. Now, it is important to remember that the kotel does not just serve Orthodox Jews. It is an important sacred site for all Jews. The Israeli Religious Action Center tried to get the Knesset, the Israeli Congress, to pass legislation allowing for women to be able to pray together at the kotel and to bring a Torah scroll into the area. But the Knesset dragged its feet on this year after year. So the Israeli Religious Action Center had to bring a lawsuit to the courts, saying that Jews should be able to pray in a variety of ways at the kotel. Finally, the court did get involved. It had hoped that the Knesset would settle this matter, but the court said that there must be an egalitarian space where men and women can pray together and have a Torah scroll. As a result of this, right now there is a small area known as Ezrat Yisrael, but it does not even reach to the wall. The courts have said that Israel has not followed through on creating a separate but equal space, and that the custom at the kotel should be pluralistic, not Orthodox only. However, nothing has changed, so the women of the wall continue to press for change with Iraq's help, and the women of the wall continue to pray each month together at the wall. Many of us Reform rabbis and our spouses who were in Israel for the CCR conference went with the women of the wall to the kotel for Rosh Chodesh Adar. This is just last month. There were hundreds of us, Israelis who come each month because they think this is important, Americans who are spending time in Israel, and we who were rabbis, all coming together. We were stopped at the security gate and kept there for 40 minutes. Finally, we were let in one at a time. We women were not able to get a Torah in on our side. We tried, not allowed, but we prayed anyway together. We sang, we went through the morning service, and we read the Torah portion from a sheet of paper. On the positive side, we received a lot of publicity, including on national TV. It's a way to raise awareness. And Gilad Kariv, who is an attorney, a Reform rabbi, and a member of Knesset, was there and spoke to the press and talked about the importance of changing this custom, these laws in Israel. I also want to say on the positive side, where I prayed, there was a mechitza, there was a wall, a fence right beside me, and then another place where there were Orthodox women, and there was this wonderful little Orthodox woman who was praying with us. And when another Orthodox woman came to yell at us, this woman yelled back at her. I thanked her, and she said, "Thank you." It was beautiful. On the negative side, we were pushed, yelled at, and even spit on by Orthodox men and women. As we were leaving the plaza area, a group of Orthodox teenage girls began to pursue our group and to yell and spit on us. They even spit on the Torah that the men had been carrying. These high school girls are bussed in each month to harass the women of the wall. Steve and I got on our tour bus. We were one of just a few on this bus. Most of the people were on the bus ahead. These girls decided to dart onto the bus, spit at us, dart off, gather more spit. I laugh now, I was not laughing at the time. Come back on and spit at us again. It was a new thing for me. I have not been spit on before. These girls had such hate, but at the same time, they were having so much vicious fun. They clearly saw us as the enemy, and they were loving the opportunity to jeer at us and to spit on us. Needless to say, nothing about this felt holy or good. But we did feel that the work of progress sometimes requires strong action. I'll be speaking more about this at Rosh Chodesh at our gathering in April, and I hope that some of the women here tonight will join us for that. So even the week after we left, the Religious Action Center was meeting with the Supreme Court to continue talking about the concerns of the women of the wall. So that case goes on. The other group I want to talk about is this Israel movement for progressive Judaism. They have fought tooth and nail to get the right to have Reform congregations. There are now 52 IMPJ regional centers and congregations in Israel. If you go on impj.org, you'll see a map of Israel there, and you'll see that dotted all over it are congregations that are Reform and progressive. On their website, they describe their mission this way: our work in Israel includes progressive Jewish education, establishing pluralistic Jewish communities, youth and young adult leadership, social action and advocacy for religious pluralism in Israel, engaging immigrants from the former Soviet Union with their Judaism, and deepening ties between Israeli and diaspora Jews. We were blessed to see two thriving Reform communities while we were there. We went to the Liobet Community School in Haifa, beautiful building. 2,500 students come there every day for their public school education. And in this school, the students learn progressive Jewish values. So families can choose for their kids to go to this school. The building also houses a progressive synagogue. That Erev Shabbat, we attended a beautiful Shabbat service that included a conversion of a handful of adult students, a young class, maybe second graders, singing, performing Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, and hearing a high school senior girl give a beautiful Devar Torah in English on that week's Torah portion. Then Saturday morning, we went to Beit Daniel, a gorgeous community center and progressive synagogue in Tel Aviv. We learned that they officiate at 250 bar bat mitzvahs every year and hundreds of weddings. So the IMPJ is doing great work in Israel and providing real alternatives for Israelis now. It's not just either you're Orthodox or you're secular. There's this opportunity to be a progressive religious Jew in Israel. I think these two organizations need our help and our support. And sometimes they are so alone trying to push ahead in Israel, and it's really impactful for when we go visit those congregations and when we support them financially. So there's a lot more I could say. We took an informative trip to 3 communities that are within a few miles of Gaza. We learned about how they grow a lot of the food that is eaten in Israel. So this land is very important to Israel. But some of these people live so close to the border with Gaza, which we could see, by the way, that they have only a 2-second warning to get to a shelter once alarms go off that rockets are headed their way. We also spent time in the largest Bedouin community in the world, a city called Rehat, and learned of some of their initiatives and their challenges. So I could speak about a lot of things, but I want to focus the rest of my time on an issue that's very important and is, I'd say, the major concern of Israeli discourse right now. And this is the judicial reform bill that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to pass in the Knesset. He does have the votes to potentially pass it in his coalition government, so it is very concerning. The day that we met with 2 members of Knesset and a retired Supreme Court judge was the day after the passing of the first official reading of the bill in the Constitution Committee of the Knesset, and it was a key topic that they discussed. In addition, I want to say, while we were there, before we were there and since, Israel is seeing its largest protests ever, and it's because of this. Each Sunday I take it back, each Saturday night, between 150,000 and 250,000 Israelis gather on the streets of Tel Aviv to protest this bill. And many tens of thousands gather by the Knesset in Jerusalem on Mondays, and there are protests happening in other major cities. It is really almost breaking Israel up. So what's going on? As in the US, Israel as a democracy has a legislative branch, an executive branch, and a judicial branch. However, in Israel, the executive branch, the prime minister, is appointed by the ruling party in the legislative branch. So those two parties are tied together. Therefore, the judicial branch is particularly important, as among other things, serving as a check and balance to what the other two branches do. So the reason Israelis are so concerned is that this reform, what some are calling an overhaul, would undermine the independence of the judiciary. The new legislation seeks to curb the judiciary's influence over lawmaking and public policy by limiting the Supreme Court's power to exercise judicial review, by granting the executive branch control over judicial appointments, and by limiting the authority of the judiciary's legal advisors. All very concerning. The retired Supreme Court Justice and the two MKs we heard from called this a serious crisis. An independent judiciary gives other nations confidence in Israel as a democracy by showing that Israel can police itself. And of course, it assures Israelis of objective judicial review in case of any wrongdoings. And while the Israeli Knesset may swing left or right, you hope that the judiciary is removed from that and can be more apolitical. But this tying of the judiciary to the desires of the executive and legislative branches threatens all of that. So this is a crucial moment for Israel, and many, many people are speaking up to voice their indignation. That's the blessing of a democracy, right? They can do that and hopefully be heard. We will see how it goes. When we heard from Rabbi and member of Knesset Gilad Kariv, he said to us about our trip to Israel, "This cannot be a Shiva visit." I thought it was powerful. In other words, we cannot wipe our hands of concern for Israel. We cannot consider it deceased, though we may be frustrated with many things there. They need our support, just as we need for there to be a vibrant Jewish state. So we can help by continuing to visit, encouraging U.S. Congresspeople to voice their concerns to their Israeli counterparts, and helping to support organizations concerned with democracy in Israel. Prime Minister Golda Meir once said, "Pessimism is a luxury that a Jew can never allow him or herself." Like the U.S., Israel is a real country that has incredible achievements and very serious concerns. And like the U.S., it is a country that we need to continue to love and to work on. Let's continue to pray and pursue the peace and well-being of both of these countries. Amen.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, be acceptable in thy sight. Lord, my rock and my redeemer, Lord, my rock and redeemer.
We continue with the Aleinu on page 282. 282. Please rise in body or in spirit.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו רצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהן, וגורלנו ככלול המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
נאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we think about the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. If I read the name of your loved one, please feel invited to rise at that time. In the period of Shiva, the first 7 days, Nixon Province. In the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days, Arnold Rabin, Barbara Harris, Nelson Lerner, Walter Shapiro, and Marvin Arnold Davis. Within the first year, Arlene Bonim, Farrell Sachs, Stephen Allen Cohen, Judy Selinsky, Shirley Garfield, and Gary McFlickier. And we remember those whose yortzites, anniversary of death, come at this time: Barbara Altschuler, Steve Bletchman, Jack Bloom, David Breslow, Charlotte Chasen, Elaine Cohen, William R. Bob Deese, Irving Denningberg, Samuel Dickman, Albert Fine, Lorraine Field, Michael Forstat, Sylvia Forstat, Peter Friedland, Julian Gaust, David Gerbarg, Morty Gerber, Elizabeth Goldfinger, Judge Justinus Gould, Estelle Gray, Hannah Hirsch, Morton Isaacs, Jerry Jacobs, Jason Matthew Kaplan, Miriam Merritt Kaplan, Lily Cassie, Leon Kaufheil, Rosalind Krupp, Nettie Levine, Hannah Lippin, Abraham Macy, Lawrence Jeffrey Marks, Simpson E. Myers, Audrey Newman, Jack Oland, Molly Panich, Edward L. Pincus, Roger S. Robinson, Meyer Roth, David Schaffert, Carl Schatz, Andrew Schauer, Herbert Simon, Lawrence Maxey Sinek, Irving Siporin, Max Siporin, Bernard Sukenik, Robert Tanser, Veer Ugaretz, and Annette Zweibach. I'll go around if anyone wants to mention anyone else. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. I invite those who are able to please rise. We turn to page 294 for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'Almei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudasha Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi Shalama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May God bring peace to all on earth, and may we all help to bring solace and comfort to those who are bereaved. Amen. So I want to thank Gail and John for the beautiful music. Thank you so very much. And I want to make sure everybody picked up a handout. Lots of important, good things coming up. We would love for you to look over that and join us for upcoming events. And we're going to join in a motzi. Do I have any kids who want to come up for a motzi? I need some help. Come up. All right. We don't do command performances. All right. Oh, there we go. We got some helpers. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Come on up. Yay. All right. That means you get to eat challah first. But first we're going to do a blessing. Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. You guys want to pick some out? Just take some. There you go. Excellent. All right. Mom. All right, the challah will be up here for anyone who wants to come get some. So the closing song is on page 347. This is a beautiful Israeli piece by Israeli poet Naomi Shemer. It's on page 347. It fits so beautifully with my sermon, Al Kol Ela. Naomi Shemer said, to get the honey, we must be willing to risk the sting. So we have to take the bitter with the sweet, but we continue to pray for the good. Al Kol Ela.
For the honey and the bee sting, for the bitter and the sweet, all the things which join as one to make our lives complete. For the future of our children, for the prayers will never cease, for the hope that with tomorrow comes a world of peace. I call Shemoi Dali Eli Atov Al Advash Ve'al Oketz Al Hamar Ve'hamar Tok Al Natak Al Atua Al Tishkak Et HaTikva Ashkiveni Ve'ashuva El Haaretz HaTova.
Adonai Eloheinu, may we keep with us a sense of our blessings, a sense of gratitude, a sense of your holiness with us as we go through the rest of Shabbat and into the week. And may that strengthen us, that we may go forward and bring more justice to this world. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.